Have you ever seen a Madonna and Child painting with such a dark theme? Enter the enigmatic Madonna of the Dry Tree, a masterpiece by Flemish artist Petrus Christus. Also known as Our Lady of the Barren Tree, this painting exudes a haunting allure, drawing inspiration from the Book of Ezekiel. The dry tree, also known as the solitary tree, represents a withered and dead version of the tree of knowledge from the Garden of Eden. This dead tree of knowledge is brought back to life by the presence of the Virgin Mary and Christ. In the painting, they are positioned at the center of a disembodied dead tree trunk, encircled by folds of black and withered branches that possibly represent a crown of thorns. Madonna of the Dry Tree, or Our Lady of the Barren Tree, is a miniature oil-on-oak panel painting believed to have been created around 1465 by Petrus Christus, an early Netherlandish painter. The size of the painting, 14.7 by 12.4 centimeters, or 5.8 by 4.9 inches, suggests that it was most likely intended as a personal devotional object for intimate use. Because it was unsigned and had no provenance available, we didn't know where this painting came from or why it was made, until 1919, when Grete Ring, an art historian, examined it. She was the first to attribute the painting to Petrus Christus, identify its iconography, and give it the name it is currently known by. But we still don't know. The circumstances of the painting's commission and its iconography are still shrouded. We don't know who commissioned it, allowing for the theory that the artist painted it for himself, which may be why it's unsigned. This painting is all iconography, but let's look at the most prominent forms. Mary stands at the fork of a barren tree. She is surrounded by thin, spiky branches forming an oval arch around her. She holds the Christ child with her right hand while supporting his dangling feet with the other, a familiar Madonna and Child pose. Her bright red robe, with a green lining, is painted in sharp sculptural lines, and her plain blue dress is unadorned except for a single, thin band of ermine fur at its hem. Her face is individualized rather than the generic female face often used for Mary. Her features are not soft or rounded like those of the idealized models. Her expression is less high and mighty than earlier Madonnas or typical secular female portraits of the time. She looks nearly relatable in a modern way. The Christ child has a playful attitude and friendly facial expression. He holds a golden orb and cross, typical of Christ's depictions. They are both placed in an undefined, dark space and appear smaller than their realistic physical presence, as if they were ornaments on a dry tree along with the hanging A's. As mentioned earlier, the withered and thorny tree could be a symbolic representation of the biblical tree of knowledge. Art historians interpret it as a metaphor for the original sin. The tree would remain lifeless until the second coming of Christ. This iconography is based on the verse from Ezekiel 17:24, which reads, "And all the trees of the field shall know that I, the Lord, have brought down the high tree, have exalted the low tree, have dried up the green tree, and have made the dry tree to flourish." The orb and cross held in his hands and the spiny thorns fashioned into a surrounding crowd indicate his role as the Savior. The dry tree itself may represent both the fall of man and redemption. The painting features 15 golden A's hanging from its branches, which may represent the first letter of the traditional Catholic prayer, Angelus Domini Nuntiave Mariae. It is possible that the painting was influenced by the devotions of the Confraternity of Our Lady of the Dry Tree of Bruges. Another interpretation is that they symbolize an arbor, as other similar devotional works show trees in an arbor. And yet another suggests that the painting might have been commissioned by an individual member of the Confraternity. This could have been the wealthy merchant, diplomat, and arts patron named Anselm Adorn, but we're just not sure. The 15 golden letter A's could also be interpreted as abbreviations for the Ave Maria prayer, also known as Hail Mary. The number 15 may allude to the 150 Hail Marys recited in the contemporary rosary. However, this form did not become popular until 1475, about 10 years after the painting was created. Still, it is worth mentioning due to the similar connection. The painting may be linked to the Confraternity of Our Lady of the Dry Tree. The Confraternity was closely associated with Philip the Good, who, according to their belief, prayed to an image of the Virgin carved on a tree during a battle against the French. Following this victory, he is said to have established the Confraternity. The Confraternity's seal, visible on existing ledgers, depicts a thorny dry tree with dangling letter A's. In 1462, Christus and his wife, Gaudicina, became members. Christus joined the fraternity to establish himself in Bruges society and attract wealthy patrons. So, they were networking and integrating themselves into the upper echelons of Catholic society. It's unclear whether Christus was commissioned by the Confraternity or an individual member, despite the iconography being closely linked with the organization. It's just that the dry tree painting is not listed in the Confraternity's inventory, and its small size suggests that it may have been commissioned as a private devotional piece, if it was commissioned at all. Art historian Marion Ainsworth noted that the darkness of the iconography in the painting is unprecedented in Netherlandish art. Bernhard Ritterbus, another art historian, considers the panel a unique, miraculous cult image, rather than a typical late medieval illustration of a biblical scene. The painting directs the viewer to focus solely on the mother, child, and tree. Madonna of the Dry Tree can be seen at the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum in Madrid, Spain. So if you've seen it in person, what did you think? Thank you so much for watching. If you learned anything new or would like more stories about art, send a like my way. And until next time, may you gaze upon some art.